Is that Richard, our one of our main characters, goes out into the world and he gives people rides in his little airplane. He lands in fields and he lives life on his own. He's free. He's a rebel. He's I don't care what y'all think. I'm just going to go do my thing kind of guy. At least that's the way he tells himself he is. And he runs into this other person doing the same thing named Don. And Don's just, Richard kind of lands in this field and runs into Don. And Don's just chilling there. But Don's plane doesn't look quite right. Don's plane looks a little too good to have been flying all over the Midwest, giving people $3 rides in his airplane. And Richard's like, "Why are you lying to me, Don?" And Don says, "No, name's on the plane right there, Don." And so Richard's world begins to get really shaken up by Don. So the question for us today that I invite us to look at is what happens when our world gets shaken? When something happens that totally just goes, I really didn't expect that. I got totally blindsided by that. And how do I get shook? What if somebody walks into my world and says, the world isn't quite the way you see it. It's even better. You're pretty good. You're pretty awesome, as a matter of fact, but I know there's more. We get all these little messages from the world that says we're separate. We were talking about in class on Thursday night, and I'm not telling stories out of school. I told them I was going to talk about this. I get these messages from the world all the time that tell me I'm separate. The wall over here tells me I'm separate. The chair I'm sitting on, or you're sitting on, tells me that you're separate. Tells you right now that you're separate from it. But are you? Quantum physics tells us that we're trading particles back and forth all the time. So are we really separate? Are we? I don't think so. We're trading energy back and forth all day long, all night long, day after day after day after day after day. So, when you're walking through the world, when we are walking through the world, what are we seeing? What are we feeling? Ernest Holmes, the founder of the Science of Mind, founder of Centers for Spiritual Living, author of the Science of Mind, tells us time and time again that it's the dominant tendency of our thinking, the dominant tendency of our thought, the content of our consciousness is always being shown to us by the world. The sum total of my thoughts, ideas, and beliefs as an individual, the sum total of our thoughts, ideas, and beliefs as people, as humans on the planet, always show up. Always. We have a collective agreements about all kinds of stuff. Ernest Holmes writes this in The Science of Mind. With this vast array of facts at our disposal, it would be foolish to suppose that our self-knowing mind is any other than our perception of reality. Well, it is our unity with the whole, or God, on the conscious side of life, and is an absolute guarantee that we are a center of God consciousness in the vast whole. Hello. So our thinking, feeling, believing regarding anything, including ourselves, sets up our experience. Wow. I know for a lot of people, I know for me, I'll speak for myself. I know for me, sometimes that's a good news, bad news thing, right? Because sometimes I don't feel so good about me. And I go, oh, well, I better check that, right? I better check the committee for a little bit. I mean, I'll let them run for a little while, just kind of get where I'm down. But then, like I've talked about before in here, a new assignment, right? You give them a new assignment. Give them something positive to think about, something positive to say to you, right? Say, I'm happy, healthy, and whole, and I'm awesome. Right? Give them that little affirmation to work on, reassign them instead of all the nonsense about how I'm not enough and I'm not worthy and I did all this, that, and the other when I was younger and we all know the chatter. So the question becomes, can I allow myself the opportunity to set all that aside, shift my perspective, and let it be okay that the minister shows up in a t-shirt from the Rolling Stones instead of a suit and tie? Right? I know y'all think it's okay. They programmed us in ministerial school with, it's like you need to show up as looking prosperous. Oh yeah, that was part of the messaging. Sure. Suits, dude, suits are pricey, man, and they're not getting any cheaper. And it's okay. Sometimes jeans and a t-shirt and bright yellow socks feels a lot more fun, right? I mean, y'all want to come here and have a good time, right? Right? No, we don't need to be heavy, deep, and real all the time. That can be part of it, but we're all connected. We get to show up and have fun in life. We get to show up and have a good time at the center on Sunday morning and laugh and smile. And yes, sometimes we come together and we get, and I get on a roll and I hit something deep and I start feeling teary, and that's okay too. Because that's the scope of our experience. All of it. From the happy to the sad, from the light to the dark, all of it matters. All of it, we have room for all of it here. And every now and then we get to come together and shake things up. Just like just like Richard got his world shaken by Donald. And you will hear about some of those experiences as we go through the month. Right? So Richard meets Don in the field, and they fly, they fly some rides. They fly more rides on that first day than Richard has ever flown. And in the end, they start having a conversation about how Richard is, I'm on the spiritual journey, and someday, maybe I'll meet somebody and that will know more than I do, or teach me something new, teach me something more. And Don just sits there and nods his head because Don knows. Don's got a handle on it. And they start talking a little philosophy here and there, and Don says, well, here, take a look at this book. And Richard opens the book. And he reads a couple things, and he gets down to this line. Learning is finding out what you already know. Doing and just demonstrating that you know it. Teaching is reminding others that they know just as well as you. You are all learners, doers, and teachers. I suspect this is where we got watch one, do one, teach one. It's a medical world thing. Watch one, do one, teach one. And we are all three. I have people I teach, I have people I learn from. And so on and so on and so on. And he goes on, reading the book, to the next one. The simplest questions are the most profound. Where were you born? Where is your home? Where are you going? And what are you doing? Think about these once in a while and watch your answers change. Hmm. Hmm. And I remember reading that the first time going, and then I read it today for the 100th time, and I went, they change. Even the where you were born changes. Where is your home? Changes, certainly. Where are you going? Oh, yeah. And what are you doing? And they change not necessarily because of where you are in life, but in terms of what you have become, who you are becoming. See, because it's all point of view, it's all perspective, and it's all based on where I am today. What are the beliefs I'm holding on to today that are coloring my world? What are the lenses that I'm working with? I was going to invite you. Yeah, no, we're not going to do that. I was going to invite you to change your seats because y'all tend to sit in the same spot every week. You do. Y'all have a tendency to sit in the same spot. And I would invite you from time to time to change your seat. I'm not going to make you do it right now. If you want to, you can. But what I'm saying is, because where you sit in the room can have an impact on how you see, how you perceive, how you feel about what's going on in the space. I was in a workshop. I went to a workshop with brilliant teacher Gene Houston. Spent a whole week in this workshop with Gene Houston, with nothing but other ministers in the space. All religious science of mind ministers. Great week, but one of her rules as the workshop leader was, when you came back from a break or lunch or the next day, you were to not sit in the same spot twice over the course of the 5 days. It was like one of the rules. You always change your seat, always change your space. Because what that does is it keeps us conscious, number one. Keep you conscious, keep you awake, keep you engaged with this moment. Also, what it does is it changes your view of the space. It changes the view of the world. It changes your view of your relationship with what's going on. And when we can do that, when the unexpected happens, when the serendipitous happens, when the unplanned for event arises, we are more mentally, spiritually prepared for that unplanned for event, because we wholly expect the world to show up for us differently all the time. Because our lensing, so to speak, has become adapted to that sense of flexibility to how we view the world. We have engaged with what the Zen masters call beginner's mind, where we are open to everything being new all the time, where I'm looking at the world with eyes that say, I've not seen this before. What is that? How exciting. How exciting would that be? Or can that be for you? To walk around with a sense of saying, wow, that's brand new. What is a clock? What is a clock? What does a clock do? It's got hands and it turns. It's got a third hand that's always moving all the time. Wow. Wow. And then there's like another kind of clock that just has numbers. What? Are you at a Stones concert? That's a whole other conversation, Stephen. But you get the point, right? It's like, how new flowers, really? And they smell? What? Come on. How how wonderful would it be to walk through the world where everything was new all the time? With a sense of exploration, a sense of excitement, a sense of saying, wow, tell me more about that. Or how do I learn more about that? How do I learn more about me? When I look in the mirror and look at myself as new, it's like, okay, all right, doing all right, feeling good. Okay. Can I do that? Sure. Sure. You know what? Bill Murray made a lot of progress on Groundhog's Day. He sure did. Um, and if I'm inviting that sense of newness, that sense of connection, when I get to the point where I'm seeing myself, number one, as connected to everything, all the time, everywhere, right? Where the wall appears to be over there, but I know I'm connected to it. You seem to be over there, no matter where you are, in the chair, across the country, across the world, but I know we're connected. But I know there's an energetic exchange always going on, no matter where we are. That's why we can pray for somebody on the other side of the world and get results. That's why a Reiki practitioner can sit in Maine and talk to me here in Arizona and say, "Hey, I'm sending you the stuff right now." And I'm like, "Yeah, got it." Had that experience. And I've prayed for people across the world, known the truth about them, and it all works. And that's why it works. It works because we're connected. It works because even though you appear to be over there, I know you are right here because you are not necessarily an individual. You are an individualized expression of one unique and infinite source and substance, and that is called God or spirit or source, whatever you want to call it. You are an individualized expression as I am. And this is me looking at you, looking at me, looking at you, together being spirit, being God, looking at God, experiencing God, all of it at the same time. And wow, because it's all one. And we can have fun with that. And that's the point. The point is we can. Whoa. Woo. We can have a good laugh. It's all right. Steve's back there cracking me up. All right. See, God is a giggle. God is a giggle. Y'all saw my post last week. God is a giggle. And that's what makes it fun. When we are willing to shift perspective, willing for it to be different, willing for it to be, yes, it can be, we can be centered and calm and peaceful and have that moment where everything is still. And we could have raucous, uncontrolled, unmanageable laughter at the same time or in the next moment. Because that is spirit expressing too. Because it all is. The laughter, the tears, all of it at once. And when we acknowledge the connection, we know who our people are, right? We know who our tribe is. We know who the people are that we are to walk this journey with. We recognize them in the moment. Even Richard finds it in the Messiah's Handbook where it says, your friends will know you better in the first minute you meet than your acquaintances will know you in 1,000 years. Isn't that true? Because we're all connected. And the ones who vibrate with us, the ones who are our teachers, our students, our co-wanderers on the path, the ones that know it's not a straight line from A to Z, the ones that know that we're tacking and jibing across the course to get to our destination, across the ocean of consciousness that says, you know what, we're one. We know our people. And we know that the door is always open for others along the way. Ernest writes this, right here, through our own nature, is the gateway and the path that gradually leads to illumination, to realization, to inspiration, to the intuitive perception of everything. Because, as he said in the first quote, we are a center of God consciousness in the vast whole. It's all one, friends. And when we really sit and allow ourselves to be present with that idea, that it's not that idea, this idea that it is all one. If we really spend time with that, it will shake our world. When you realize that when you are looking at somebody else, you're looking at you. And when they are looking at you, they are looking at themselves. So I would invite, let's go. Hold on. And that leads to our spiritual practice this week. I'm going to go back just a couple steps to beginner's mind. This week, we are about the practice of allowing a fresh perspective, opening ourselves to something new. Let's start the day declaring for ourselves. Today, I view the world as entirely new, with a beginner's mind and an open heart. Let's work with that this week and see what happens. Just see what happens. No expectation, no preconceived notions. That's the whole idea, right? We wipe the slate clean. Walking into the world saying, you know what? It's all brand new. How can I do that? How can I open to that? How can I stay curious? Stay curious. Okay? So now it's your turn. Thoughts, questions. Lori, I saw you make notes.
Oh.
Or maybe I already answered it.
I just wrote down something you said.
Oh, okay.
You wanted to share to a friend.
Oh, okay.
It says the dominant tendency of our thinking is being consistent and reflected back to us by life.
Yes.
Taking that with me.
Yeah. I used to know what page that was on in the book, and I don't anymore. Anyway, thank you though. That's one of my favorites. Questions, comments.
It does look different from here than over there.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell a funny story about that.
Can you? Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I was taking this class, and it's Katie. I was taking a class on anatomy and physiology at the junior college, and every time I went to class, I would sit in a different place. Everybody else sat in the same chair every time. And so I'm doing my thing. I'm switching around. And then one day it was a test day, and I sat in a different seat, and this person came and sat next to me. And then the instructor goes, leave at least one or two spaces in between each of you. There's plenty of room. We want everyone spread out. And so this person's just doing what they're doing. I was like, hey, he said we're supposed to leave space. And she goes, well, this is my seat, and I've been here every day of the class, and you've been moving all around, so you can move. And I was like, yeah, I can. Okay, bye.
All right. There we go. I love that. Love that. Yeah. Bravo. Yeah, no, good one. Yeah. All right. Anybody else? I'm not going to make you talk. Trust me. All right. Well, we'll move along then. All right. Let's take it inside and we'll do our affirmative prayer, our spiritual mind treatment. Yeah, just do that with me. Doesn't that feel good? Yummy. All right. And today we're going to begin with gratitude. Just being grateful for the laughter and the joy and the love that we feel here today. Grateful for inviting in something entirely new in our experience. As we begin by recognizing that God is all there is, an infinite life and love and joy that is truly the source and substance of our being. And it is in this life that we live and move and have our expression, that it in us, as us, each and every one, uniquely individualized as it, and uniquely as ourselves, with our own special flavor of this life. Our own special color and texture and sense of feeling, and together we create a magnificent and magical tapestry that is this world in which we live. We let love and joy point the way today. We open ourselves to something entirely new in this and every moment. Some new expression and experience of love, of joy, of peace, of harmony, of wholeness, of health. Open to it all. We set everything else aside. Everything that has gone before is now in the past, because we live in this moment now. A full and glorious and magical and magnificent expression of ourselves. How wonderful it is that we walk in this world receiving our good, open to something wonderful, knowing that something wonderful is happening right now for us, each and every one. We know this not only for ourselves, but for the community in which we live, the community that we serve, our state, our country. Truly, this world is surrounded in this light of knowing that we have right now with us. We know that our good is our God, our good is Spirit, our good is Source. This good is all around us. And so, with gratitude, we go into the rest of this day, this week, our lives, knowing that all is well, that life is good as each and every one of us. And so we let it be. And so it is.